Hey, remember in the finale when Team Avatar is just outside of Ba Sing Se? When Zuko and Katara hop on Appa to get to the Fire Nation capital? And do you remember how they made this several thousand-mile journey in under one day? Because I do. I remember. And trust me, when it comes to the mistakes of Last Airbender, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And that's mostly what this series is going to be about. But before I get back to the problem I just mentioned, there are a few things I want to talk about first. So, I think it's safe to say, if you're here, you're an Avatar fan. Wrong Avatar. Ironically, even wronger. No, we all know what I'm talking about. Avatar: The Last Airbender was nothing short of a masterpiece. Everyone who's seen it loves it, and it still has a strong following today. The same can't totally be said for its sequel. If you're a member of the Avatar fan base, you know what I'm talking about. And it does have problems. But what if I told you that Last Airbender has almost as many? Oh yeah. Look, I don't know much about Star Trek or the MCU or Lord of the Rings, but I know Avatar, and I know this fanbase. This isn't one of those channels that skim the summaries of 5 episodes on Wikipedia. Oi. Anywho, I know this franchise, and I'm going to use this video series to set the record straight about it. And while I will talk about the problems with Legend of Korra, I'm actually going to start with all the problems Last Airbender has. Why? To offer a little perspective. Because refuting the arguments against Korra is only half the battle. You also have to demonstrate that Last Airbender, while a masterpiece, was not as perfect as everyone remembers. Okay, don't worry, we'll get to what the title promised soon enough. But first I wanted to talk about something I find interesting, then acknowledge Korra's main flaw. You see, The Last Airbender was the first in its series, and really the first of its kind. What that means is that it didn't have a high bar to overcome, but because it was so good, it ironically set a very high bar for its sequel, and thus, we get a double standard subconsciously built into everyone's minds. Now I know it sounds like I'm making excuses, but just hear me out a little bit longer, because it's from this bias that we get the 5 camps of the Avatar fanbase. Now, the first camp is the largest. It's made up of those who loved Last Airbender and liked Legend of Korra. That's the one I belong to. Next we have those who think Last Airbender is great and Legend of Korra is just okay. FYI, some of the fanbase don't like books 1 or 2, but still like 3 and 4. I'm putting them in this camp. Next, and third most populated, we have the third camp, made up of those who loved Last Airbender but hated Legend of Korra. The last 2 camps are a lot less populated than the others, but I just wanted to mention them anyway. In the fourth camp you have those who liked or even loved both shows equally, and in the fifth camp you actually have those who liked Legend of Korra more. Don't look at me like that, they exist. Anyway, just wanted to get that out of the way before acknowledging Korra's main flaw, and then finally get into it. Anyway, here we go. Okay, what's at the heart of any Avatar show? I mean, yeah, it's the Avatar, but what I really mean is the Team Avatar. The original Team Avatar had 6 members, because Suki counts, who felt like a nuclear family because they all depended on each other, because they each had something unique to contribute, and because they each had their own goals and or arcs. The same can't be said for Legend of Korra. See, each of the side characters rarely got a chance to contribute something unique, which means they never really felt like a team, more like a loose association. My point is that since a Team Avatar is the heart, or foundation, of an Avatar show, if that foundation is weak, then the rest of the show suffers. But this also circles back to an earlier point, the one about bias. Both shows have a lot of mistakes, yet most only see the mistakes in Legend of Korra, the one with the weaker Team Avatar. Coincidence? I think not! It is my firm belief that if Korra had just made a better Team Avatar, then the show wouldn't have gotten nearly as much hate. So what you're saying is that if Legend of Korra was better, it wouldn't get nearly as much hate? No, what I'm saying is that both shows have a lot of problems, but the main reason why they get overlooked in The Last Airbender is because of the one problem that show didn't have that Legend of Korra does. A mishandled Team Avatar. But of what problems do you speak of? For any of this to be true, I do say, there have to be a bunch of problems in Last Airbender that everyone's overlooking. I do say, is what I'm sure you're all calmly and eloquently saying to your computer screens right now. Well, guess what? You're gonna have to wait until the next video. But I should have it out in only a few days. Oh, and it's gonna be so much more than what I mentioned earlier. So, I'm not sure when I'll get the next video up. Editing is still pretty new to me. Also, I will address the critiques against Legend of Korra eventually. But first, I want to talk about all the problems with Last Airbender and just give, as I said, perspective. But I'll try to keep everyone up to date. Finally, I ask that you do not subscribe, share, or like this video, and that you do not follow me on Twitter with this link. Because I don't need your pity!